Yo, what is up, all you gamers out there? The name's Second Heat. I'm actually doing a second retake on this video talking about PlayStation 4's or Sony itself press conference. Now, the reason why I'm doing a second retake on this is because I literally just finished watching Boogie to 98's reaction video on this press conference, and he actually refreshed my memory on the things that I had actually forgotten while recording the first take. So, starting off with things, of course, they started the press conference off with Destiny and the trailer for it. Sadly, though, they didn't give us much information, although there probably isn't as much information needed to since the game's just was released in, I believe, September time. Some of the stuff they did mention, though, is the whole beta and alpha stages that will be played. The alpha stage will be played, I believe they said Thursday or so. I believe that one's going to be PlayStation 4 exclusive. They also mentioned the beta that will be played later on. There are some other things mentioned. They mentioned that PlayStation will be able to get the game first. They did mention that we're gonna get some exclusive DLC, exclusive releases with the game, and this got so many of us excited. It was a good start to the whole PlayStation conference. Some of the things they had also mentioned, which I'm not going to talk about too much because something not many people were as interested as maybe Sony thought, although it was a smart thing to do, and I'll explain why after. They mentioned some TV related things, some TV and also some future features that will soon be released. TV wise, they mentioned a series called Powers, which is basically this form, which is really a superhero thing, but it's basically showing a former superhero, a retired superhero, since a superhero who kind of lost his powers and has become a detective to figure out causes for current superheroes' deaths. So basically, as soon as a superhero dies and they find him, this guy, along with his partner or whatever, they go and find out how this all happened and da da da. And it's not just superheroes; it's supervillains as well. So this is actually going to be a pretty interesting series. Don't know if this is going to be good or bad. They even show us like they hardly showed us anything. All they really showed us was a clip art of it. So this could go anyway. Something else that they mentioned was they were mentioning a Ratchet and Clank movie, something that I am greatly anticipating for because Ratchet and Clank was actually one of my favorite PlayStation exclusive games back in the day, from Ratchet and Clank 1 all the way to Deadlock. I enjoy the game so much and I really cannot wait till it comes out in the big screen. Um, Last thing they started mentioning was, for the feature wise, they started mentioning that you will now be able to upload to YouTube. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, with the whole Share Factory thing, you do not need a capture card anymore to record your gameplay and upload to YouTube. Now you can use the Share Factory thing and upload straight to YouTube. So this got so many people so hyped up because not everyone can just throw away $150 to $200 on a capture card. Now, as I said, there's actually a good reason why they did mention these kind of stuff along with all the indie and AAA title games. The good thing about this was, because unlike Microsoft last year, this wasn't like the big focus. It did have some focus on, of course, as everything. They weren't just gonna brush it off. They did want to put some focus on it, but they didn't put as much as they did with all the indie games and all the AAA titles. So this was good because now they gave you a variety of things that you should know about the PlayStation 4, the PS Vita, and even the PS3 still. So this was a very smart move that they did. They kind of improved what Microsoft tried to do last year. Instead of making TV and stuff like that the sole like purpose of their console, they made that as you know, that back focus in a way. They didn't make that the main focus. They made that your, you know, not so unimportant, but still has that influence on some people. Going further on into things, as I mentioned, they had a heavy focus on indie games and AAA titles. Starting off with the indie games, I can't really remember any of the games off the top of my head, but just to give you guys a quick rundown, as a lot of you guys know or remember, people over at Sony had emphasized greatly how the PlayStation 4 is the place for indie games. It's the place for the small companies to be able to release their content out to the gamers out there. They did have some pretty interesting indie games. One of them was like No Man's Land, something like that. I kind of got the title wrong, but the concept of it was kind of like a space like game. Sorry, I'm kind of tired as I'm recording this. It is about to be 1 o'clock. Holy crap! So, what this really was kind of like a space journey like game where you could basically travel throughout space in your spaceship through many planets that, you know, I don't think there's going to be of course, there's going to be a limit to it, but it's just going to go on forever. You know, it's going to take a long time to explore every single planet. I don't fully know what the point of all of it is. They didn't really emphasize it. They didn't really explain it too much. Um, the president of the company was, or the president or the COO, whatever you want to call him. You can tell he was very nervous to speak up to a group like this. You know, you can tell this isn't something that he does constantly, simply because as a small company, they don't get as much exposure. And I do still believe they said that this was probably like their first big game to be released. So you can tell he was nervous. We still gotta give him props because the game does look pretty interesting. It does look appealing to the eye. There were some other indie games featured, but I'm not gonna stay too focused on that simply because that's not what everyone's looking forward to. Last thing I want to mention though, they did also highly emphasize the free games that can be played. They did mention that there were like 25 free to play games that will be released within the next 12 months. So everybody look forward to that. Excuse me. Now going to what everyone's been looking forward to, the AAA title games. Some of the big things that they mentioned. First off, Little Big Planet 3. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how loud the people got as soon as they mentioned Little Big Planet 3. Well, not even mentioned, but as soon as they showed the title, the fans got so hyped up, and for good reason. As they were showing some gameplay of this, which was kind of funny gameplay because there were a lot of mistakes made throughout the gameplay that kind of got people laughing and stuff. Um, but they did show 4 playable characters. Your usual sack character, then you had this like dog sack character, then you had this fat sack character, then you had a bird sack character. Although I don't think that was actually I actually think that was in order. So lucky me. The features that each of these side characters had all were pretty unique. The first side character, your usual, what he can do is he has this like hair dryer like tool which can obviously blow things away and kind of like blow obstacles away so you can further go on through the level. You have your dog side character who is a lot faster than your usual slug character and who can actually wall jump and everything. Although I always thought that you could wall jump with the old side character. Whew. But I guess you can't. Your fat side character actually has 2 features. He has a special ability where he can shrink, so you could go through like small places, or small spaces is what I meant to say. And then you also have his feature of, well, one, he's very strong, so he can move heavy objects, and two, he has this feature of, since he's just heavy and stuff, um, he could go on platforms and basically push buttons down. I mean, like large buttons. He could just step on it, and that will activate whatever the button pressing will do. So that's his feature. Then the bird feature, I believe everyone can obviously tell, the bird feature is that he can fly. That is a pretty good feature that can really get you around places really quickly. Now, going on into things, they did show a Dead Island 2 trailer. I even texted it to my friend who is in love with Dead Island, and she instantly went like, I need this game. And for good reason too. Dead Island's always been a very great zombie game for many players, and I'm pretty sure this one will not disappoint. Now, of course, through the trailer, they had the usual that they always used to have. Basically, starting off with a good feel, going bad. Basically, what happened was, you had a jogger who was getting ready to start running and stuff, and he did have a slight, they did give him a slight glimpse of him having a bite mark on his wrist, but he just showed, that doesn't matter. He covered it up with his wristband and just started jogging, and as he's jogging, he's passing by civilians who at first are looking normal, then all of a sudden getting attacked by zombies, and as he's further going on, all of a sudden the bite infection kicks in and he turns into a zombie, and then chaos starts going out. Of course, ending off with a funny where this guy runs a lot of the zombies over, and then stops, grabs his shoes, and books it. And that was pretty hilarious. Something else that was shown throughout the Sony press conference was Batman Arkham Knights. Batman Arkham Knights looked phenomenal. I actually texted another one of my friends who watched it with me, and he said, "Bro, this game is a must-have," because he loves playing Batman games. He's played all the Batman Arkham games, and I'm pretty sure he's really gonna get this one too, because this one looked phenomenal. I said Batman. The Batmobile looked amazing. The fighting looked amazing. Everything looked amazing, especially to me, who doesn't play the Batman games. This looked very amazing to me. Um, I can't fully remember everything else that happened, although I see two more things that I'm gonna mention, then I'm gonna sign out. I'm gonna sign off, whatever you want to say. First one, actually no, there are three things I want to say. The first one having to do with Far Cry 4. They showed somewhat they actually showed gameplay of Far Cry 4 that looked brilliant, especially showing how the elephants in the game were actually helping you out attacking the enemy. And one of the things I did not understand is how the elephant blew up a jeep and the elephant was unscarred. Like, the jeep blew up literally right in his face, and he looked like nothing ever happened. Like, he was a freaking juggernaut on steroids. So I'm just like, whoa, badass over here. So following up that, we also have crap, I just had it in my mind. That was actually a quite long pause, but it was luckily skipped. So they had Uncharted 4. They gave you a teaser of that. Um, they gave you a teaser trailer basically of Nathan Drake walking through the forest, with some dialogue in the background. I didn't pay attention to that too much because the stream was lagging a lot at that moment. So all I saw was that they teased the Uncharted 4 series, and that got a lot of people excited. A lot of people have been anticipating that, so I'm pretty sure everyone is highly expecting this game to come out. Lastly, what I want to talk about is Infamous Second Son's DLC First Light, which is where you get to play as Fetch, I actually got that name right. You get to play as Fetch. What it looks to be the storyline that led up to her capture. For those guys that do not know, in Infamous Second Sons, um, all of the conduits, or what they now call bioterrorists, have all been captured in this cell where they are now separated from all the real people, from everybody else, all the civilians, simply because they are seen to be as a threat. And I'm guessing what we're gonna see is how Fetch led up from probably being revealed as a bioterrorist all the way to the point of getting caught. So that looks amazing. That looks very promising. If I had Infamous Second Sons, I would love to get that. You know, maybe it might inspire me to go get the game now. There was actually no reason why I didn't want to get the game. The game looked flawless. I really wanted it so badly since I loved playing the Infamous series, but I guess I just didn't have the money to get it because, you know, $60. You had to be really smart about how you spend it. So yes, that's not been everything. I do know that there was a lot more that I missed out on, but sadly, so much was mentioned during Sony's press conference, and that's why it took me 17 minutes to discuss what I can, and it was probably like only half of it. So, yes, that's been everything that I'd like to say. I wish I could say more, but so much was mentioned that I can't remember anymore. So I'm just ending the video off here. And until next time, this has been your boy Taking Heat, and I'm out. Peace.